Something has to change with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, this team is 0-3. And eventually, if they cannot turn things around, they're going to fire Doug Peterson and Press Taylor. If they don't make the NFL playoffs, it's a good chance that Doug Peterson will be fired. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because Doug Peterson fired the defensive coordinator from last season, and he brought in a brand new defensive coordinator, but he held on to Press Taylor because he did not want Trevor Lawrence to go out there and learn a brand new system yet again. If we go back a couple of years ago, he was underneath Urban Meyer's administration. He had to learn that system. And before the season was even over with, they fired him. But regardless, the Jacksonville Jaguars has botched this entire situation with Trevor Lawrence. This was a quarterback that was seen as a generational talent. And so far, he has been a massive disappointment. He is not a bad quarterback, but it's the turnovers with this kid and it's the inaccuracy problems as well. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are also struggling catching the football, even dating back from last season. It's just a lot to talk about with this team. And I want to start off with Trevor Lawrence. He has been beat up a lot. He has been sacked 8 times in the last 2 games. He got sacked 4 times against the Buffalo Bills. He got sacked 4 times against the Cleveland Browns. And he also got sacked and beat up a lot against the Miami Dolphins. He got sacked 3 times. The offensive line is a major issue from tackle to tackle. And that should not be the case when you have names like Cam Robinson, you have Ezra Cleveland at the left guard position, Mitch Morse at the center position, Brandon Scherff at the right guard position. Now, Brandon Scherff is on the back end of his career for sure. But you look at Anton Harrison at the right tackle position. They have put too many resources in this offensive line for them to be this bad. And Trevor Lawrence has to be better. They just gave him a massive contract extension for $275 million. But yet the turnovers are still a problem. This is not a quarterback that's in year 1 or year 2 anymore. They're saying that he can be the franchise guy. And so far, he doesn't look like a franchise quarterback. He is playing as bad as Daniel Jones. That's how he is looking. If we're going to go out there and we're going to make fun of Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, you have to do the same thing here. And this kid has more weapons around him. I think that they have very good weapons. Now, Evan Ingram is dealing with an injury right now. He's going to miss some time. But even dating back to last season and the season before that, Evan Ingram has been a very good tight end. He did not have the best seasons with the New York Giants. He came over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has been a key option for Trevor Lawrence. You look at Christian Kirk, not a true number 1 wide receiver, but he's a very good wide receiver. A couple of years ago, in his first season with the Jaguars, he had over 1,000 yards receiving. He has dealt with injuries, but he's a very good wide receiver to have around. Gabe Davis is a solid wide receiver in his own right. Brian Thomas, right now, I do believe that he is a true number 1 wide receiver. So the weapons are not the problem here. Will they drop passes? Yes. Is there miscommunication issues with them? Yes, but that's on coaching. You have to get that taken care of in practice. Drops are going to happen. But these turnovers, that's on Trevor Lawrence. Not being able to navigate inside the pocket, that's on Trevor Lawrence. This man is 0-8 in his last 8 starts with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not going to bench him. They're not going to cut him because his contract is fully guaranteed. He is one of the highest paid players in the NFL, and he is not playing like it. And he has not lived up to those expectations that were set for him when he came out of Clemson. And I understand that that's a bit unfair, but he has the talent. He has very good mobility. He's a big, tall, strong quarterback that should be able to stand tall in the pocket. And so far, he can't do that. These turnovers are hurting this franchise, and they're crippling this team as a whole. Now, when you talk about Doug Peterson and Press Taylor, the offense of play calling makes 0 sense. You have a very good running back in Travis Etienne. He can do it all for you. He can catch the football at the backfield. He can run in between the tackles. But yet you insist on making Trevor Lawrence something that he is struggling with right now. They want to make him the ultimate gunslinger. He should not have over 35 pass attempts in a game. He should not even have over 30 pass attempts in a game. He is struggling immensely right now. So go out there and have those pieces help him out. They rarely use motion with the offense to help Trevor Lawrence see the field. When they made the NFL playoffs against the Los Angeles Chargers and they won their playoff game, they used motion to help them see the field. They have gotten completely away from that. And you look at these losses. They had the Miami Dolphins down in that game, but you lost 20-17. Against the Cleveland Browns, you couldn't score. You lost that game 18-13. How can you not score over 20 points when you have key weapons like Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Travis Etienne in the backfield and you can't score over 20 points? I understand the offensive line is bad, but call more screens to help take pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. They haven't done that either. It's the same protection over and over again. And that loss against the Buffalo Bills was just terrifying. You lost that game 41-10. And I understand the turnover by Trevor Lawrence did not help matters, but they could not stop anyone. 47-10, excuse me. You lose 47-10, and they made Josh Allen, who is, but they made him seem like he was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Their defense could not stop a nosebleed. Now, against the Dolphins and against the Browns, their defense did play well, but there were no halftime adjustments at all. There is no shame losing to the Buffalo Bills, but to lose like how you did, that's the damning part. And we saw those defensive players last season regress. So what did Doug Peterson do? He brings in a brand new defensive coordinator, but he did not bring in a brand new offensive coordinator. I understand that this team was 8-3 before all the injuries started last season. And the first domino to fall was when Trevor Lawrence went down with that ankle injury against the Cincinnati Bengals. He hasn't been the same quarterback since then. And he was dealing with turnovers at that time as well. He's not comfortable inside the pocket. He can't fully see the field. And right now, he looks like an overrated prospect that was drafted very high with the first overall pick. A lot of that has to do with Trevor Lawrence and his own shortcomings, but a majority of it is also on the coaching staff as well, because you insist on making him this ultimate gunslinger. When I look at the defense, you have very good defensive pieces with Josh Allen, with Trayvon Walker. Tyson Campbell is out right now dealing with an injury. The funny thing about that is this. He was dealing with injuries last season as well. They just paid him a massive contract extension. You just gave Josh Allen the contract extension as well. We all know about the Evan Ingram contract extension. Trevor Lawrence has got a major contract extension. You're paying all these guys and you have nothing to show for it. You're 0-3. And the schedule does not get any easier. If they can't go out there and they can't beat the Cleveland Browns and they're getting dominated by the Buffalo Bills, they face the Houston Texans on the road this week. Then they face the Indianapolis Colts, and then they go against a tough defense of the Chicago Bears. Then they go against the Patriots. They can't turn things around. We could possibly see them be 3-3 or be 3-4. But it's still a letdown for an organization that has high hopes of making the NFL playoffs. I'm not saying fire Doug Peterson right now. I say you give him the entire season. You let him finish this thing out. And if it's not any better, if they miss the NFL playoffs, my bold prediction is that the Jacksonville Jaguars will have a long conversation with Bill Belichick, because that's the head coach that still wants to coach in the NFL. He's just taking a year away, and he was in a rebuild situation with the New England Patriots. He's not in a rebuild situation with this young team right here. And they need to establish a true winning culture. They have not been able to do that for many, many years. Even back to when they had Jacksonville, they had a lot of success, but the offense was so freaking bad, especially with Blake Bortles. They just can't get right. And they had the opportunity to make the NFL playoffs last season. It was the last game of the regular season. If you win, you're in. But they lost to the Tennessee Titans. Understand that they were not fully healthy, but they should have won that game. Lack of halftime adjustments hurt them again. They lost to Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill. This should not be the case. Not with a team that has this big of a payroll. And Trent Baalke has drafted very well, in my opinion, by getting Trayvon Walker, bringing in guys like that, a freak of nature at the defensive end position, can stop the run, can get to the passer. They have too many talented players to be in this situation. But at the end of the day, everyone deserves blame. This is not one of those situations to where you fire the head coach, immediately everything gets better. No, Trevor Lawrence has to be better. The wide receivers have to catch the football. They have to be able to get 2 feet down in bounds. The offensive line has to play better. Right now, that's the weakest link with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I understand that Trevor Lawrence is having these interceptions. Part of that is because he doesn't have full confidence in being protected up front. And the Jaguars deserve a lot of blame as well. It was so important to bring in a very good established head coach that kid's rookie season, but they went with Urban Meyer, a college head coach, was very good in college, but he was so toxic in the NFL. And you potentially ruin that kid straight out the gate coming out of college. They have a lot of talent that can turn things around. But the bad thing about it is this: the Houston Texans, you can say they're struggling right now. They still look better than the Jacksonville Jaguars. They look miles ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Tennessee Titans right now, they have a strong defense. They can't protect Will Levis. He's still figuring things out. And the Indianapolis Colts are trying to develop Anthony Richardson. They're still in this race, even at 0-3. But my confidence in Doug Peterson long term, I just don't have it. And with Trevor Lawrence, these turnovers, this is becoming a reoccurring thing. And the inaccuracy problems came out of nowhere. Usually Trevor Lawrence is a very accurate quarterback. This season, it's a lot of overthrows, a lot of underthrows. He's just missing his mark on the target. He drifts outside the pocket. He's not setting his feet. He's just throwing the ball over people's head. We weren't seeing this. He looks like how he looked in his rookie season. He looks shell-shocked. The situational awareness is not there with the players either. And when you look at the lack of halftime adjustments against the Bills, like they gave up. When the second quarter ended, it's basically like this team just mailed it in. They just say, you know what? We'll just wait out to next week. No adjustments by Doug Peterson at all. That's the second week in a row. They're not shifting the offensive line to one side to help guys out. They're not chip blocking. They're just saying, hey, go out there with our base offensive line, one-on-one with everyone. And Trevor Lawrence can't see the blitz either. This is just a terrible situation with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what also makes this so embarrassing, the owner came out 2 hours before the game started Monday night and said this is the best roster we have ever assembled. 3 hours later, they would get dominated by the Buffalo Bills 47-10. The Khans are not a very happy family right now. But let me know in the comment section below, do you guys think that Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence can turn this thing around with the Jacksonville Jaguars? And after this season, if they cannot turn things around, should they fire Doug Peterson? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.